Welcome to Archetypes of the East. Today we're looking at Hexagram 38, opposition, divergence. Challenge, disunity, misunderstanding, and conflict between individuals or groups that operate in opposite polarities. The Oracle foresees a time when people are at odds, have different goals, or misunderstand each other's intentions, leading to conflict. The I Ching advises that there is an important lesson in finding common ground or the good within these divergent elements. The challenge lies in communication. Misunderstandings and mixed signals muddy the waters, and the only way to fix this is to find a shared value or purpose, even if it's difficult to find. Great endeavors are discouraged at this time, while smaller endeavors will fare much better. Focus on small, intimate, and interpersonal tasks. The principle here is to understand the contrast. Hexagram 38 represents the divergent path archetype. The structure is fire over lake. Like oil and water, they occupy the same space, but they don't mix. This is about dual perspective. It teaches that opposition is not a failure of unity, but a natural state of the universe that allows for depth and distance. In the state of opposition, you cannot force the other person to see what you see. You are looking at the lake while they are looking at the fire. Instead of trying to convert them, look for the small shared truth between the two. They may disagree on the destination, the big endeavor, but you can agree on the next step, the smaller tasks. When there is friction in the machine, high speeds cause a breakdown. This is not a time to sign a 10-year contract or to launch a global merger. It's a time for interpersonal maintenance. Fix the misunderstandings and the mixed signals at the coffee table level before you try to take over the boardroom. In career, this is the design versus engineering conflict. They want different things, but they both want the product to work. Focus on that tiny shared goal. In relationships, this is the agreeing to disagree. You don't need to be identical to be a team. You just need to be complementary. The key or energy of this hexagram is tense, sharp, and analytical. The atmosphere of hexagram 38 is about high contrast. It feels like the air before a thunderstorm or the tension between two magnets with the same pole. It's very prickly. This is a time to be a student of difference. Don't react. Analyze why the polarities are shifting. The image of hexagram 38 states, fire over lake. Above there is fire, below is the lake. The image of opposition. In the midst of fellowship, the superior one retains their individuality. The hexagram isn't asking you to fold on your values in order to end a conflict. You can stay as fire while the opposition stays as lake. Just as a battery requires a positive and negative pole to create a current, opposition is often the only way to generate real energy. Use the tension to spark innovation. The judgment of hexagram 38 states, opposition. In small matters, there is good fortune. In the I Ching, opposition creates a massive gap. If you try to leap across a gap with a great endeavor, you'll fall. It teaches that while you cannot align the big picture, you can almost always align in the small tasks. This is not a time to change the hearts and minds of the opposition. When perspectives are polarized, truth becomes a weapon. People stop listening to facts and start defending their identities instead. The Oracle advises that in order to bypass the ego, you must focus on project maintenance. Don't talk about the 5-year plan, the great endeavor. Talk about who is picking up the mail, the small matter. Do not lose individuality just to conform. There is a temptation in moments of friction to melt into the other person's view just to end the tension. The I Ching warns against this. You must remain unique without aggression. True harmony is not a chorus of identical voices. It's a symphony of different instruments playing in the same key. In career, this is the soft pivot. If a colleague opposes your main strategy, stop arguing for it. Find one small technical detail that you both agree on and work together on that. In relationships, this is the parallel play. You don't need to share a worldview to share a meal. Winning the small matter keeps the door open for the greater matter later. This is the conflict de-escalation. It's the realization that you don't need a victory to have results. The I Ching says, the gap between you and the other is currently a canyon. Stop trying to build a bridge in a storm. Focus on the maintenance of the connection that you still have. Stay true to your own light, let them have theirs, and find the 1 inch of ground that you can stand on together. The small win is the only win available right now, so take it. A changing line 1. All regret vanishes. If you lose something valuable, like your horse, do not pursue it, as it will return of its own accord. When you see the deeds of evil individuals, guard against the blame of their poor example. This line is talking about the power of being centered. Line 1 is the beginning of the inner lake trigram. In a state of opposition, your first instinct is to fix the gap, to chase what's leaving, or argue with those who disagree. The oracle says stop. This is the strategy of the magnetic center. A horse is a means of progress, a job, a partner, or a reputation. If it bolts because of an opposition, chasing it only increases the distance. If it truly belongs in your stable, in your life, it will return once the dust of the conflict settles. If it doesn't return, it was never yours to keep, and it's easy to let it go. When you're opposed by evil or difficult people, the temptation is to fight fire with fire, to use their dirty tactics. The I Ching warns, don't let their character change yours. If you descend into mudslinging, you lose the only thing that matters, your upright disposition. In career, if a client leaves or a project stalls, don't beg or panic. Refine your own work and wait. In relationships, if someone is pulling away, give them the space to go. What is meant for you cannot be lost. What is lost was never yours. Remain wise and reserved. This is the line of letting go in order to gain something. It's the realization that you cannot force alignment in a polarized time. The I Ching says, your energy is better spent on your own center than on chasing after shadows. If a connection is real, it has its own gravity. It'll return. If an opponent is toxic, don't let their poison into your own system. Stay passive to stay powerful. A changing line 2. One meets one's equal in a difficult, confining circumstance, like a narrow alley. There is no blame in this scenario. This line is about tactical spontaneity. Line 2 is the central balanced position of the inner lake trigram. It represents the moment where the pressure of opposition forces two people into a small, confined space. It teaches that when formal negotiations fail, a chance encounter can save the mission. This is the power of the informal. Help can come from unexpected or obscure resources. When the main street, the public or official route, is blocked by ego and conflict, look for the narrow alley. This is the meeting by a coffee machine, the DM, or the clandestine back channel. In these small private spaces, the armor of opposition often drops, allowing for a no-blame connection that would be impossible inside of a boardroom. Secrecy here is a shield. This isn't about being sneaky for evil ends. It's about protecting a fragile connection from the darkness of public opinion or groupthink. If the family or the opponents see you talking, they might sabotage the peace. Keep the connection narrow and private until it is strong enough to survive the light. In career, stop trying to win the group meeting. Find your equal or your lord, the decision maker, in a casual one-on-one setting and propose a small shared purpose. In relationships, stop the big talk and just focus on the shared quiet moment. The narrow street here is where the real work of reconciliation happens. This is the off-the-record meeting. It's the breakthrough that happens in the hallway rather than at the conference table. The I Ching says the great divide is still there, but you found a secret path across it. Don't worry about the optics or the palace rules right now. If you find an ally in a tight spot, take their hand. A small agreement made in private is worth more than 1,000 public arguments. A changing line 3. Progress stops like a cart being pulled back and the oxen are halted. One's dignity and respect are cut off. Not a good beginning to affairs, but there will be a good conclusion to the matter. This is the line of radical endurance. Line 3 is at the top of the inner lake trigram, where desire for harmony is brutally crushed by the opposition. The wagon is a symbol for your progress. It's actively being pulled back. It teaches that when your dignity is attacked, your only weapon is your long game. If the seeker attempts to force the issue, it will only result in humiliation. In this position, the opposition isn't just disagreeing. They're trying to mutilate your reputation. They want to mark you as a traitor or a criminal. If you fight back with the same level of vitriol, you prove them right. The oracle advises you to accept the temporary stoppage of your progress and focus entirely on internal integrity. The oracle states that the divine will punish adversaries for their ignorance. You don't need to be the judge and the jury. The very act of them cutting off your nose, attacking your standing without cause, creates a karmic debt that will eventually collapse in on them. Your job is to stay upright so that when the good conclusion arrives, you're still standing. In career, this is the project that's being sabotaged by internal politics. Stop pushing the oxen, let the cart sit. Document everything, maintain your class and punctuality, and wait for the leadership to see who is actually causing the damage. In relationships, this is the no contact or gray rock method. When they attack your dignity, respond with silence. Silence is the only answer that cannot be misquoted. This is the line of character under fire. It's the realization that sometimes you have to lose the beginning of the battle to win the conclusion of the war. The I Ching says, the resistance is at its absolute maximum right now. You're being unfairly judged and your progress has been hijacked. Do not lower yourself to the level of the mutilators. Let them think that they have stopped you. Your good end is guaranteed by your refusal to become like them. Hold your head high, even if they try to shame you. A changing line 4. Isolated and in opposition, one meets a kindred spirit. Perseverance brings good fortune. Regret vanishes. Line 4 is the transition into the outer trigram of fire. You're still isolated. The main group still doesn't understand you, but the clarity of fire allows you to see another light in the distance. A connection with someone who shares your values will emerge. After the mutilation of line 3, you might feel like you are the only sane person left in the room. Line 4 is the universe's way of saying you are not alone. This kindred spirit might not be a lord, like in line 2, or a king in line 5, but they are an equal. They see the world as you do. Associating with them is dangerous because it marks you both as dissenters, but it's necessary for your psychological survival. Despite the danger, no blame. Do not measure your success by the size of your own crowd. In the state of opposition, one true ally is worth 100 fair-weather friends. In career, this is the secret project, or the peer in another department who finally gets why you're pushing for a specific change. Form a pact. In relationships, this is finding the one friend who doesn't believe the gossip about you. Value the quality of the connection over the quantity of the support. This is the line of finding your tribe. It's the moment you realize that while the majority is against you, you have a core team of one. The I Ching says, the isolation was a filter. It removed the people who didn't belong in your life and left the door open for the one person who does. Don't worry about being mainstream right now. Focus on this new alliance. When two people are truly like-minded, they can withstand an army of opposition. A changing line 5. All regret vanishes as the superior one gnaws conscientiously, working through the difficulty of the endeavor. What blame could there be to go forth with this tenacity? This line is talking about the disillusion of barriers. Line 5 is the ruler of the hexagram positioned in the center of the outer trigram of fire. After being isolated in line 4, you now find an ally or an opportunity that is willing to do the hard work of biting through the social or professional wrappings that have kept you apart. One can resolve a major issue and end the obstruction. This isn't a time for subtle hints or small matters, as stated in the judgment. Line 5 is the moment for tenacity. The wrappings here that are stated are layers of misunderstanding, legalities, or ego that have obscured the truth. When the superior one, you or a powerful ally, begins to gnaw through these layers, the opposition dissolves because it was based on a false premise. If someone is reaching out to you through the chaos, or if you see a clear path to resolve the fight, take it. There is no blame in ending a conflict. In a polarized world, people often feel loyal to the fight. The I Ching says the only loyalty should be to the resolution. In career, this is the meeting where the real talk finally happens. You cut through the jargon and the politics to the core of the problem. In relationships, this is the brave conversation that shreds the Cold War between you and another. When the wrappings are gone, only the connection remains. This is the line of breaking the silo. It's the realization that most opposition is just a series of layers that need to be peeled back. The I Ching says the time for small wins is over. A major breakthrough is possible because someone is finally willing to do the dirty work of gnawing through to the actual core of the problem. Don't second guess the opportunity. If the door opens, walk through it. Success is no longer potential, it's active. A changing line 6. When isolated during opposition, one may see another as a pig covered in mud or a cart full of devils. First one draws a bow to attack, but then puts it aside. The other is not an enemy, and they will connect at the right time. As this anxiety passes, relief comes like rain, bringing good fortune. Line 6 is the extreme edge of the outer fire trigram. When opposition reaches its peak, the mind begins to hallucinate and we see enemies everywhere. We stop seeing people and we start seeing monsters. It teaches that the final barrier to unity is often our own internalized fear. You will have the impulse to attack, the knee-jerk reaction. The oracle advises you to pause. Between the drawing of the bow and the release of the arrow, there is a window of clarity. If you wait, you will see that the robber, in the original translation, is actually a companion. Laying down your defense is what triggers the rain of relief. One may see others as strange, alien, or even unpleasant. In a high conflict state, our brains are wired for threat detection. We look at a potential ally and we could see a dirty pig or devils. We misinterpret their silence as a plot and their offer of help as a trap. The I Ching warns, don't trust your eyes when you are in a state of high anxiety. The enemies, quote unquote, that you see are likely your own fears reflected back at you. In career, this is the moment that you realize the difficult client or opposing manager is actually trying to help the project succeed in their own messy way. In relationships, this is the sudden softening after a long Cold War, the realization that you both want the same thing. The rain washes away the dirt of misunderstanding. Let the storm break so that the peace can begin. This is checking your own bias. It's the realization that you have been catastrophizing the motives of others for a long time. The I Ching says the war is over, but your brain is still in the bunker. Stop looking for devils in every email and pigs in every meeting. Someone is trying to reach you. If you put down your weapon, the tension will break like a summer storm. The good fortune is the peace that follows the end of the illusion. That concludes Hexagram 38. I hope that you liked the video if you found it helpful in understanding this hexagram. Subscribe to follow the series along, and next we'll look at Hexagram 39, obstruction, limping injury. See you then.